Thomas and Percy are two of the closest friends on the island of Sodor. They often work on Thomas's branch line, the one that goes up to Farquhar and the quarry. Thomas usually manages the passengers, and Percy usually manages the goods. When they are not doing that, they can be seen shunting in the yards, sometimes at Knapford, sometimes at Tidmouth, and sometimes at Brendon Docks. And at night, they usually rest side by side at Tidmouth Sheds. They are close friends indeed. One day, Thomas was repainted at the steamworks. He felt very proud of this, almost as proud as James.
Wow, Thomas, you do look splendid with your new coat of paint.
Yes, indeed. I do love being blue. Maybe you should try it sometime, Percy.
I don't know. I like being green.
The next morning, Thomas was in Knapford Station's yard. He had gone up and down this branch line with Annie and Clarabelle and was enjoying a rest before his next train. Percy was in the yard too, shunting. He had some coal trucks for the hopper. However, unknown to Percy, the truck's brakes were on.
Be careful with those trucks, Percy.
I know what I'm doing, Thomas.
Oops! These trucks should have their brakes off. There we go.
And then there was trouble.
Oh! Cinders and ashes!
Oh,
no! Luckily, no one was hurt, but Thomas and Percy were covered in coal dust.
Look at me. My paint has been spoiled. I told you to be careful, Percy.
Well, I may have been if you hadn't been telling me what to do, Thomas.
I think you did that on purpose.
What? I did not.
Did too.
Did not.
Did too.
Did not.
Thomas and Percy both needed a wash, and they were very cross with each other. Thomas was cross with Percy for spoiling his new coat of paint, and Percy was cross with Thomas for accusing him of doing it on purpose. For 2 full days they were so cross that they wouldn't speak to each other. And at night, they stayed at opposite ends of Tidmouth Sheds instead of side by side. The other engines began to worry. Then one evening, Percy found that he was tired of being cross with Thomas and wanted to be friends with him again. He'd had a good day. The trucks had not given him any trouble. He was so busy thinking about this that he didn't notice until too late that there was a broken branch hanging on the line, straight in front of him.
Oh no! Ouch!
Percy was more startled than hurt, but his front was still sore when he reached the sheds. Thomas was unsympathetic.
It's your own fault. You should keep a better lookout. I have no patience for you.
This made Percy cross, and he no longer thought of making up with Thomas. And so, the feud continued for another day.
Don't be a drip, Charlie. I'm not a drip, Aaron.
Toby, what's a drip? Do you know?
I think it's when water comes through a hole in your cab, and the driver and fireman don't have time to fix it.
That's silly. I heard a girl call her friend one this afternoon. I'm sure he couldn't have come through a hole in my cab.
Thomas was tired of being ignored.
That's different. The girl just thought her friend was being a coward, a silly, or spoil sport.
So, if you stopped me from doing something nice, would you be a drip, Thomas?
You're the drip. Now get back to work like a sensible engine and stop talking nonsense.
Percy was offended and became crosser than ever with Thomas. The next day, Thomas was at Knapford Station. He was ready to leave, but had to wait for Henry to arrive, so passengers from the main line could travel on his branch line. However, Henry was running very late.
How can I run my line properly if the main line engines are always late? They don't realize that the Fat Controller relies on me.
They aren't always late. Besides, there are bridges on the main line that sometimes need to be repaired.
That's what they always say, but it's just an excuse for laziness if you ask me.
At last, Henry came.
Where have you been, lazy bones?
I'm sorry, Thomas. I wasn't feeling well this morning, and there were repairs being made on the viaduct and the suspension bridge, which made things worse.
It's lucky for you I'm a guaranteed connection.
Thomas left once he was sure everyone was ready. As he went down his branch line, he hurried, trying to make up for lost time. Then there was trouble again.
Ouch!
One of your side runs is broken. It swung up and punctured your tank. We'll have to get help.
At Farquhar, Percy was shunting. The station master came up.
Leave those trucks, please, Percy. Thomas has got a hole in his water tank. There's water dripping everywhere, and he can't get home on his own.
I won't go. Thomas called me a drip. Let him jolly well stay there and drip himself. He deserves it.
But what about Annie and Clarabelle and the passengers? Do they deserve it too?
Oh, I forgot them. We must rescue them in case they turn into drips too.
And he hurried away. He found Thomas near the river. Everyone was glad to see him.
Thank you, Percy.
Yes, thank you, Percy. I'm sorry I've been so rude to you.
And I'm sorry I've been rude too. And careless.
That tank of mine turned me into a bigger drip than we expected, didn't it? Can we be friends again, please?
Of course, Thomas. I would love that very much.
I see you two are getting along again.
Yes, we are.
So that night, Thomas and Percy were side by side at Tidmouth Sheds once again. The other engines were relieved. It was good for Thomas and Percy to be friends again.